when the air hostess announced that we were about to land in Warri, that we should fasten our seatbelts, that came with a flood of emotions. Because on October 5th, 2019, I was a volunteer cameraman for TEDxOkumagbaAve. And now, in 2026, April 26th, I'm a speaker at TEDxOkumagbaAve. I think it's full circle. I think it's full circle. And not just that, I'm speaking alongside one of my biggest baba, my name is David Akwara. I'm a multiple award-winning filmmaker. I'm a global storyteller. I'm the lead for partnership at Africa's Future Economic Leaders. For about half a decade, since my career took flight, people from this city, particularly Yara, Okumagba, Kolo, Sediko, Uye, they've been asking me, how are you able to get invited by two sitting presidents, one in Asia and one in Africa? How are you able to get invited by some of the world's biggest forums, like the UN in New York, like UNESCO in South Korea, like the African Union Commission and all the events they do across Africa, by the African Export and Import Bank, AfCFTA, the European Union, the WTO? How are you able to do that? Some would ask, how are you able to make documentaries in multiple countries? Others would say, how did you get 5 sitting presidents to watch a documentary you started in Udu Bridge? Others would say, how did you get commissioned, sometimes by governments of other countries that are not African, by reputable organizations? How did you get commissioned? And they'll say it in their local parlance. Which level? Not be the same cameraman work all of us they do. If not soap, cut down for me. So today, I would attempt to cut that soap. And that soap is an idea. That idea is Ubuntu. For context, what Ubuntu means, or if I take you there, the origin of Ubuntu comes from South Africa. 2 tribes in particular, the Xhosa tribe and the Zulu tribe. What Ubuntu means is that I, as David or Akwara, am because you are. So if there's no Tobore Adakaraza, there will be no David Akwara. What it also means is that we are all connected by shared humanity. What it also means is that I would put the good of my community first before my personal interests. What it also means in our local parlance is jeun, is sele. It is across all lines, we should parapo. What that means in English is collaboration. It wasn't possible for a boy who grew up in Kolo to reach the world. It wasn't possible. It was a place where we just survived. There weren't a lot of examples, and the ones that we have are too far to reach. And so, I took on, from a very early age, the power of community. That if Akwara would go further, if he goes with people. So at my Kolo, Sediko, Udu Road, Onwea, Airport Road level, I was looking for projects that I can do with my brothers and my sisters. Because Ubuntu requires that you strengthen a brother that is weak. Ubuntu requires that you are the guy who is ready to serve. As a matter of fact, it was in service I knew a platform that put me ahead of my peers. For the purpose of clarity and context, it was LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn 15 years ago and nobody around my space knew what was that. That was a platform where you could be friends with the president of nations, as I do. That's a platform where captain of industries are. That's a platform where the The kind of work that I wanted to do for Africa and the world can be heard because of Ubuntu. It was in Ubuntu, in my practice of Ubuntu, filming for a colleague that was doing a humanitarian program. I got a first call from the UK, saying that we saw your profile on LinkedIn, and we were asking, will we be able to cover a particular project? It's called the AfCFTA. I said, and they said it was in Ghana. So I told the guy that I'm currently in Warri, but I can get to Ghana. The guy said, we thought that, your profile had that you went to a film school in Ghana, so we thought that you were in Ghana. And because you're not in Ghana, we would leave you behind. But what that did for me is to go research about what is AfCFTA. And for the purpose of my audience, AfCFTA is African Continental Free Trade Area. I took a personal initiative that I want to tell the AfCFTA story from Warri. So I started from Mudu Bridge. I went to MPA. I filmed on Airport Road, talking about the importance of Africans doing business with each other. As a matter of fact, the video I created with some of my guys in Warri went viral on LinkedIn. Ministers of trade of different countries are reaching out to me. As a matter of fact, a then special advisor to Buhari reached out to me that he saw what I created. Where am I? I said, are they worried? As a matter of fact, the man lived in NRA Road at some point, so we bonded more. But here's the twist. Everything that I have achieved from presidential invitation or my documentaries winning awards across the world started with that story. I became the first African to tell an independent story of Africa's economic integration. And I did that from area. The reason why that could happen is the power of collaboration. There's a text my friend sent to me, and it made me teary. So when I was filming The Rise, because I did it in multiple countries, and it was self-funded, for context. When I got to Cote d'Ivoire, I had volunteers. Again, spirit of Ubuntu. People willing to follow me to make sure that I tell this story. One of my volunteers didn't speak English. So when I saw him, I was talking to him with translation that Africa is our responsibility. That nobody will build this continent if we do not build this continent. That this story that I'm telling is not for personal gain. So I thought I was saying mere words. Last month, he sent me a text and it reads to us. Hi, David. I hope you're well. I recently had a child and I named him after you. I hope that my child is as brave and kind as you. I wouldn't be able to do all these things without people who have supported me at different stages. But here is how my Ubuntu works. I don't do Ubuntu with people who do not have vision. I do not do Ubuntu with people who do not have personal drive. So I have two layers. Somebody who is trying to get his head above the waters. I do Ubuntu with you. Another, the one that's already above the waters, that has leverage. I do Ubuntu with you. So that I can be your strength in where you are weak. Some of the guys who I did Ubuntu when they are trying to raise their head above the waters, they are ministers of trade in their countries. And so when people hear that I'm coming to their country, a particular friend in Burundi drove all the way from Burundi to Kigali airport, midnight, to pick me up. He attended the conference I was coming from because David Akwara was coming. Because on my social media, I tell you that we have the ability to move our continent forward. So we must serve each other. So if you want to practice Ubuntu, I would suggest you do it my way. Practice it with people who have where they are going. Practice it with people who have foresight. Practice it with people who have leverage. Because at some point, you would need somebody in the room to mention your name. My name has been mentioned in different places, both by people I practiced Ubuntu when we were at the bottom level, and once I practiced Ubuntu at the highest level. I'd like to end my TED talk with these few suggestions. Go home and research the meaning of Ubuntu. Teach Ubuntu in schools. Teach Ubuntu with your friends. Practice Ubuntu with your colleagues. Practice Ubuntu in Warri, because one car no go ever fit form convoy. Thank you for listening.